go. All right, we should be set now. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and give me the signal and we'll get started.
So timing for this is, starts when I gain control in the warp room, so I'll count down to that if you're ready.
All right.
The Cortex strikes back. I've never honestly played it.
This little opening cutscene here.
The mic's all the way over there, so yeah. PlayStation version. That'll need to be moved. Huh? Oh, two.
And 3, 2,
Yeah,
1,
yeah.
start time.
Ah, we're gone. We're in. We're started.
We're moving the mic.
Mic is fixed.
Mic is moved. There you go. There you go.
So this is Crash 2, 80% no game over abuse.
Oh wait.
Uh,
Game up, yeah. Go ahead.
Means is that I am going to be collecting 25 crystals and defeating a boss after every 5, but not really doing anything else in the game other than going through each level, getting its crystal, and getting to the end of it. And like what I'm skipping is
I'll mute the mic for you.
the gems that are for the side paths and for the side paths and breaking all the boxes in every level. And what the no game over abuse part is that if I were to get a crystal in a level and game over, then it would carry over to so that I could be credited for it if I were to enter another level and end it. So what this essentially means is that no game over abuse forces me to get to the end of every level. So I'm going to do that in Turtle Woods, and throughout that, and what I'm doing now is the speed movement technique of the game, and that would be the neutral slide spin. What I'm doing is sliding and then spinning at the end of the slide after having let go of the directional button. That causes the spin to occur with the speed of the slide, which would not happen if I were still pressing the directional button. And that lets me keep the slide speed, which is the fastest form of movement along ground, going while the slide cooldown goes, so I can continuously move at that speed. It's also useful because both sides of it are attacks. Side about what's in the way. All right. So this is Hang 8. This is the first level where we'll be using a extra thing we're riding on. In this case, this board to ride up the river here. And I repeatedly boost. After this crystal, I'm going to get across there by doing a glitch high jump, which I've been doing some of throughout so far, but that's when you spin immediately after you do a slide jump and you go a little bit higher than you normally would. This lets you get across or up to some things that you can't otherwise get to. And I went around that gem because it would waste time in the warp room to get it, because Crash would do this animation here again for the gem. That's sort of like the Turtle Woods. But with a few more things. Also, I am avoiding mask boxes that would give me third mask form. And even though third mask form is makes me invincible for a little bit, it also interferes with the neutral slide spin and causes it to be much slower. So I don't do that. And we go down the left path because this is where the crystal is. Birds. I'm generally trying to barely clear them with my jump so that I can spin when I'm landing behind them so that my hitbox expands backwards and I get knocked forwards. The glitch high jump, even if I fall into these pits, I don't have to wait for all the enemies to spawn. It's the pits. More level before the first boss. We'll be running away from some boulders. We'll be moving toward the screen, so that means knowing the layout of the pits is essential.
Hey Stump, do I have a quick 30 seconds?
During the boss fight that's immediately after this will be a very good time.
Alright, thank you. Just let me know.
Alright. In here, so those nitros there, I would actually have to wait until the boulder smashes those on screen. Oops. And I got shoes on top of that. That's slight. It's RNG whether the shoes happen, but that causes the death to lose another couple seconds. It's not a huge deal. Just a little extra, but we gotta dodge those, and I avoided the little tumbling animation that I'll talk about in the next boulder level. But that's 5 crystals, so we are going to start the first boss fight. And this boss fight is pretty much an auto-scroller. The exact same patterns will happen every single time, so I gotta avoid a TNT phase, avoid a nitro phase, deliver a hit, repeat twice. So this will be a good time for donations.
Alright, well, we don't have any donations at the moment, but I wanted to remind y'all that our charity of this event is To Write Love on Our Arms. It is a mental awareness group that goes to helping anyone suffering from anxiety, depression, any kind of mental illness that, can just, bring us all down. A lot of us suffer from it. So be sure, if you want to donate and help out this great charity, use the links that are dropped in the chat. And if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out.
That's a really a great cause. So, yeah, I hope that there are some donations to read throughout this run. That's the 3rd hit.
If we do, I will let you know when we do. We also have a lot of polls and donation incentives, so be sure to check those out when you get to the donation page.
Really are some good ones there. So here we are in the second warp room, starting the first level of it. This is Snowbiz, another snow level, sort of like Snow Go. Things to it like enemies on ice, and these porcupines. Now, when they get their spikes all the way out, then touching them will hurt you. And normally they will have their spikes all the way out by the time you would get up to them if you're just running like usual. But if you're neutral slide spinning, that is not the case, and you get there before the spikes are all the way out. So you don't need to worry about that. Let me dodge a few of these rolling boulders. And that's one level down. And then Air Crash is another river level. And now we have some moving platforms to deal with. I was trying to keep that, but it's not a huge deal. You got these platforms that are moving up and down on a cycle. And then I'll use, well, the mines got out of the way, but if they were in the way, then I would have used that mask and let one of them blow up so that I could go straight through. But that's Air Crash. And we have a new type of level now. Now this is Spirit, where I'll be riding on the baby polar bear. And there's a sort of charging move that you can do and jump to get a longer jump doing throughout this level. Other than that, these levels, the bear continuously moves forward, so gotta make sure if I were going for the box gem here that I'm getting all the boxes as I first pass them, because there is no going back. Also, that means that dying in these levels loses a large amount of time. So the death animations that are in the bear levels are some of the best ones in the game. Do that one. Let's complete in the second warp room. And then Crash Crush is another boulder level, so this will give me a chance to say a little bit more about that tumbling animation and skipping it. Okay, first we got these pits here, and then I slide across that pit. Barriers. They're a little bit higher in this level than they are in the other two levels that we'll see those barriers in this run. So because of that, whether I'm on the slide phase or the spin phase of a neutral slide spin, I still make it under them. That will not be true when we see those in other levels. And those little boost pads there are there to get you a little bit farther ahead when you're, especially when you're not doing the speed movement. Like with that body slam crate there, if you were trying to get all those with movement, the boulder would be right on you. But in this case, the boulder wasn't even still on the screen anymore. level in Warp 2 is a new type. This is the Eel Deal. It's a sewer level. So we got these fans, these scrubbing robots, and these pools of water with electric eels in them that electrify the water on a cycle. Expecting that bounce there, so I ended up in the fan blade. Thankfully we were right after a checkpoint. So we got that crystal down the left path, and the way forward down the right path. A mask, and I was going to be over that pool while it was electrified. I was going to hit a nitro because the damage animation from that is much faster than getting shocked by the water. But there's the next set of 5 crystals complete. One boss is the Komodo brothers. We'll send the other ones spinning around the room. Eventually that spinning dies down and I can spin that one into the first one. And then knives. But I can stand here because it was 3/4 of the way counterclockwise around the room, so if I'm a little bit clockwise of the first one, I can just stand there. And third phases, the bouncing is affected by your position. Way off there, but by positioning yourself properly at each bounce, you can minimize the length of those phases of the fight. But that's 2 warp rooms now completely finished. So, plant food is another river level. Moving platforms. And it's also got a timer gem, just like Hanging It had. And since I have a mask, I don't have to worry about avoiding those mines because there is a mask right after them. Appeared. There will be the yellow gem available at the end of the level because I am going to get to the end of the level with lots of time to spare. It's really tight casually though. I will not be getting it because that would waste time in the warp room. The sewer level with new types of enemies. And a particularly annoying type. Oh, I sniped that one. But those always have their blowtorches down when you first approach them, and they will hit you over a fairly wide radius. Generally enough that... Oh, alright. I'm going to have all the skips here, because I can abuse that mask to not have to wait for that one. Mask to on the two of them that are towards the end of the level. If I had my splits going right now, this would probably be either a gold split or very close to it. It is not common for me to get all of the skips there. But that's sooner or later. And now we have a bear level. This one is a little tougher as far as the obstacles and pits go. But it's easier as far as boxes go. Not that that matters in this category, but the box gem in this level to be the easiest one among the bear levels. Rows of steel crates that are being raised and lowered are on cycles. Gotta be aware of how it's gonna be when you get to it. And what I went over there, that chain of platforms leads to the secret warp room. And I believe that's intended to be the way that you casually discover it. We won't be going there because there's nothing we need for any percent there, but each entrance into it actually counts as 1%.
Hey, Stump, we got 15 seconds.
Sure.
I want to shout out Weedy with a $5 donation, kicking it up to $2.85.10. He said, "Let's go, Stump. Kick this game's ass."
Oh, Woody's here.
Weedy.
Woody's here. Did he?
Thanks for that donation. So this was Road to Ruin. This is one of two ruin levels in the run, and these are a lot more about having smaller platforms that you gotta do a lot of jumps across. And then something in between a boulder level and a bear level, as you can see. But at the ends, you'll see a way in which it becomes even more of a bear level. But we handily get those bears off the screen by neutral slide spinning. The mines and the pits are. The levels with the electric barriers that are slightly lower than the ones in Crash Dash. I have to be sure that I'm on the slide phase of my movement to correctly get under them without getting hit. So that's why you often see me very briefly stop in front of them. And with that set of 5 crystals complete, we are at the next boss fight, and that is Tiny. And this is probably the well, this is the real place where there's RNG in the game. At some point, 3 of these platforms are going to drop. Get Tiny over one of them right as they dropped. 2 more times, but this time only 2 will drop. So hopefully they will be in a good place. One extra hop because I only had corners to choose from. Whoop. So there's always one that immediately drops. Side, which is then a corner that you aren't able to immediately get Tiny over because you really you can't really force him over a corner that's already dropped. But that gets us into Warp Room 4, which I'm going to do in a not in order. And that's because the first level in it, Hanging Out, which is a sewer level, has a place where we actually do want to get Third Mask Form. That one mask box in the level, so we have to bring 2 masks into it. So hopefully we'll be able to bring both of these masks out of this level. I was a little bit late on that spin there, but we can do another level to get a second mask out of it. But those exploding things, if you're spinning, the explosion doesn't hurt you. So you gotta properly time your spin as you land where one of those is exploding. And we also have bees. Each beehive has a zone where the bees will chase you. Generally up to the next pit of full width. Or some upcoming pit of full width. And this darker colored ground, if you spin on it, not off of a slide under it, and the bees can't get you. And you're intended to need to do that. But with neutral slide spinning, we can outrun the bees. In this level and in the boulder levels don't directly hurt you. Slow you down so that you get hit by the boulder or the bees. So I'll do Ruination to try to get the 2 masks. Similar arrangements of things to Road to Ruin, but with nitros mixed in. You can get over the fire there. Right, there's one mask. Avoid that fire. Get rid of that. Go across these rotating tilted platforms. Go across that last one when it's back there. But it's really tricky to line up. Number 2. We'll go across that corner. And we have 2 masks. So now we can do hanging out. And hopefully keep these masks up to the mask box so that we can go really fast through the middle part of the level. But first we gotta wait for one of those. Oh! Okay, guess we will not be seeing the third mask form, unfortunately. Was a little bit farther than it actually is. Making it through that. So I would get third mask form off of that, which would allow me to move much faster along this grid here, and also not have to worry about the enemies in the way. To worry about whether those pairs of floating spikes are high or low. Oop. There, but it didn't happen. Sometimes this game can be a little bit finicky about input. Is called Hard Crash. And this is a level where we actually will be doing a side path. The death route in this level bypasses part of the main line of the level, and the death route is faster to get through than the main line is. To get to it without dying. You normally can just make it up there without activating those floating steel crates to jump across. So now I gotta do this part of the level. I just made it to that porcupine before the... Oh, a little bit stuck in the ice there. That had to have been the last frame that wouldn't have hurt me. A lot of these jumps I zigzag because it squeezes a little bit of extra speed out of it. Wow. I don't think I've ever missed that in a run before. There we are. And now we have one more level here. This is behaving. Sort of like shoes on top of that also. Sort of like digging it. This has the dark colored ground you can burrow under. And it also has the beehives. But the beehives are larger. And a lot more bees come from them. And the bees move a lot faster. But we can still, in most cases, outrun them. And that second flame often leaves one of the exploding fruit in an inconvenient spot. But that didn't happen there, which is nice. Alright. I was gonna... going under the ground there, but yeah, that's what the game said. Right, it was probably the most involved. This is engine. And for this first phase, I got both of those hands one away from death. I had to make sure that I didn't accidentally do it early. Now each of these shoulders will take 5 hits, and again I want to try and do them at the same time. That's good, I can get the left one up. Double shoulders. So the reason you want... oh, in the third phase I just have to hit the front 5 times. To get the double hits in the first 2 phases of this is that if you only get one of them, the other one... well, it resets part of his animation cycle, and it also gives the remaining one a few more hits, so... somewhat longer if you don't get the doubles. But that brings us up to the 5th warp room, final 5 levels, and then Cortex. And we've actually got 2 new types of levels here. The first one is a piston level. All about the cycles. Not just of the pistons, but for those enemies and their position and whether they have their arms up and down. Gotta make sure you go over here to get that crystal. And then we got the part with the shrink rays. Sure. Right, this works.
Alright, so Pharaoh here, everyone. Just want to remind y'all that our charity of this weekend is to Write Love on Her Arms. It is a mental health awareness group that helps people that suffer from anxiety, depression, self-injury, and anything associated with that. So far, our total donations is at $285.10, pushing our way up to $315 left. Get those donations in and let us hit 300 tonight. That's all, Stump.
Definitely get your donations in. Thanks. We have a jetpack level. Rocket. So a special trick here where deliver the first hit to one of these and keep pushing forward, and you go through, and that little plasma field isn't actually there. But it's a trick that is exclusive to the PAL version of the game, and that is the version that I am running. But that's the best version of the game to use for running. To do that, there's the slightly faster movement, slightly higher jumps. The different boss movement can make the fights a little bit easier to execute, especially engine. Night fight? Sort of a forest level, but in the dark. And I gotta get the fireflies here to light the way. And they are timed so that with continuous casual movement, each one will expire and fly away right as you get to the next one. Of overlap that you can see where I have both fireflies is a great way to visualize the time that's saved by neutral slide spinning. And pack attack is a jetpack level. It's a little bit more involved than rocket is. More of these floating wires. For the win. Nitros is about the level as it's nice enough to give you that mask. Hit one of those floating mines, and that knocked me back, so I couldn't do the PAL skip. So I did have to hit that last one the second time. But we have one more level left. One of the tougher ones. Forms there whose edges are harmful. So you gotta watch out around them. And we can slide over there. Around that. And we'll get behind this pane of glass. Of glass is relevant because you can bounce off that after glitch high jumping on top, and then neutral slide spin across the top of the glass, skipping having to deal with a lot of the enemies and nitros that are down there. Around that. And those enemies with the shields they have such interesting screams. So that's 25 crystals, so all we have is the final boss fight. And yeah, this is probably one of the more anticlimactic Cortex fights in the series. It's a jetpack level. I gotta chase him, hit him 3 times, and the third hit is time. So be ready on that. There's the first hit. Get ready on time. And time. So what was the time?
Crash, what do you suppose happened to Cortex? And what about the Cortex Vortex? It's still up there.
Alright, well, that was Crash 2, 80% no game over abuse.
Yeah, that was time. Good stuff, Stump.
Thank you so much for being here. You could have been doing anything with your time,
I don't know if you heard Meta.
but you chose to spend it here with us. We will always appreciate that.
So up next,
Thanks for having me do this run.
Supporting people regardless of people.
yeah, people supporting people regardless of other people.
.com.
What
Oh,
a saying.
God. Stump, great stuff. Thank you so much. Really.
Yeah, shout outs to Stump once again, bringing
You're
some Crash Bandicoot action in.
Yeah. Wish I could have actually been there.
Yeah, I can take it over.
Yeah, that way you can swap everything around.
Yep. We hope to have you here next year, Stump.
Yeah, I hope I can be there next year.
You're gonna have world record next year, right?
We'll see. Thanks for having me do this run.
Thanks for being here with us. We're very glad to have you. Have a great rest of your evening. Go ahead.
You too, and good luck to all the rest of the runners too.
Thank you
And
so much.
if anyone
You're
is
the man.
looking for my channel, you can find it at StumpDotio.
Perfect. Stump.tv. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll be